Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being your show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Harley Quinn. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, last episode, they took out Penguin, so it's like, alright, next one on the list is, well, they decided to go after Riddler next because obviously, like, the whole not having electricity and power kind of sucks, and it seems like he's the only one in town that actually has power and electricity, so they're planning on he runs a place called Riddler U. Apparently he's the dean and everything. And I love that whole awkward thing of like him throwing like the frisbee and it's like, hey, isn't that right? The three girls, they're like, yeah, and they're like, you could tell it's like an awkward conversation, like awkward commercial and everything, because it's kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to this school run by a supervillain, and then it's like we have to kind of act all cool. But to be fair, when the time came, when you actually go to the school, it actually seemed legit. I mean, it seemed okay from what we saw. I mean, obviously it has its definite downsides as we find out, but it just seemed like a regular school. He even has them constantly bringing up the fact is, yeah, it's much better than Harvard. It's like, even Ivy was like, yeah, it does suck, but Harvard does suck. But regardless, the fact of the matter is, because of the whole like no electricity, that means like the water is gunk, and the fact is like there was a rat in Psycho's cup, and then it's like Harley's like, oh look, at least this one's alive, and then it drops dead, and then Psycho's like, I drank 2 quarts of that shit. It's like, oh. But I love that it's like, okay, we're going to go undercover, and then we're going to find Riddler, and then we're going to kill him. And I love that Harley repeated her joke twice, because she was like, I hope you got your shots, your APV shots, Harley, because we're going to college. And Ivy's like, you already said that. She's like, yeah, but I didn't explain my plan yet, and no one had to laugh, so she was kind of hoping that now that the plan was explained, everyone would laugh because they'd get the joke now. But nevertheless, I also love they didn't want to take Clayface, but he was like, oh, I'm ready, as an actor, Dr. Psycho being like, you're not an actor. But he came up with this whole persona, Steph and everything, but they kind of shot him down. I'm like, okay. I mean, to be fair, his his acting doesn't always work out for your benefit. If anything, he screwed the pooch, with his acting last episode. But nevertheless, King Shark and Dr. Psycho are like looking into this whole water filter thing, which I love. It leads them crossing paths with like Two-Face's gang. The fact of the matter is them having to build a death car. I also love that Two-Face's men kind of went. It's like, oh yeah, let them get a taste of the typewriters or something like that. And Dr. Psycho's like, I don't get it. And then King Shark's explaining it, and it's like, oh, they do sound like typewriters. But they end up building the death car, which is pretty badass. But then they end up in Bane's territory, and it's like, oh, these are just a bunch of Bane goons. We can take them out. We built a death car, and then they inject themselves with the serum and everything. I was like, does Bane's goons always do that? I feel like I feel like I've never seen Bane goons do that. Maybe it's a comic book thing. I don't know. I'm not well versed in the comic books and stuff like that, as you obviously know, but I always knew that was Bane's thing. I didn't know he got his henchmen to do it. Most stuff that shows Bane hulking out never shows his. I mean, I know it happens, but I don't know if those are necessarily Bane's people. Like in Arkham games, like there are like people, but that's like the Titan formula. That's not even like the whole situation with Bane. Regardless, going on a tangent and all that, but I love that they're bulletproof and everything, and proceeds to rip the car off, and it's like, oh. But I love later on, it's like, we brought this water filter, and it's like, oh, we don't need it anymore. It's like, wait, what? We literally killed like half of Two-Face's army. It's like, well, you killed a couple guys. Did you really kill half his army? Hey, semantics. But maybe they killed more that we just didn't get to see. But also, it's like they got jumped into Bane's gang, which is definitely going to be interesting, because I'm sure that could help later on, because they showed up like they're like Dr. Psycho's like arms were missing from his shirt, like he was like a wrestler, and they both had like on wrestling masks. So I'm like, oh, I'm guessing. I mean, I think that's going to be set up for the future. But regardless, at the school and everything, I love that, it's so weird to see Harley and Ivy in disguise like that. It was so weird, because especially Ivy, because you're so used to seeing with the green skin. It's like, oh, it's weird to see you with just like pale skin, and then like it's weird to see Harley without pale skin, and it's just like, oh. And the fact of the matter is, yeah, we've been here the entire time. I did not realize until they bring it up later when they say her name Barb. So I was like, when she started doing the flips and stuff, and I was like, wait, is that? And then they call her Barb. So I'm like, but that's Barbara Gordon. It's like, why are you attending this school? It's like, well, it makes sense in the grand scheme of things why she's attending this school, but still. But I also love that Clayface came there as Steph, and it's like, oh, hey, Steph, oh, okay. And it's like, wait, how long have you been here? Never mind, I don't even care. It's like, once again, showing you Clayface was an MVP in this episode because he was able to kind of, get them through a lot of stuff. I mean, it's like, I even love that kind of love that line he brought up earlier in the episode where he was basically like, oh, like, it's all about becoming your character, becoming them. It's like younger Johnny Depp, when it came to the series 21 Jump Street, and then an older Johnny Depp when it came to 21 Jump Street, which I'm like, I've only seen the movie once, but he's only in it for like a little bit anyway. But I guess it's like, oh, you're diving in, you're still, I love that whole situation. But nevertheless, I just love the whole situation where he's so into character. He's like, Chad is like, wanted me to be his girlfriend. I don't really want to label it, but it's like, how long is he giving you? The weekend. And I'm like, oh, this is like too much for me. It's like, you're super getting into this, and I love it. They kind of have to smack Clayface into reality once in a while, just kind of like, do your goddamn job, because he's getting too caught up in being Steph and everything. I love that he's going super method with this. But nevertheless, I love that Harley's like, oh, where are we going to find Riddle? Oh, there he is. And they beat up a dude, but it turns out to be, what's his name, Jimmy? He's the Riddler U mascot. And, I love that later on it's like, oh yeah, this party's being held as a way to, get money for his medical bills, after you gave him that beating. And Harley's like, I know. She's like, I already donated, because she kind of felt bad because she kicked his ass. But I love also like Ivy being, because Harley's like, all right, let's go up there. And Ivy's like, I'm not. All right, normally, under normal circumstances, I wouldn't be breaking into somebody's room who wouldn't want us to be there. But Harley's like, these under normal circumstances, okay, but these are different circumstances. And it turns out Gordon is living with his daughter, which is kind of a shame. And it's like, what's going on here? It's like, she's going to rat us out to her dad. We're vining dad. It's an internet thing. You don't get it. He's like, oh, yeah, that damn internet. All right, back to it. And I'm like, I mean, last time we saw it, last episode, like, has it really been months in between or something like that? Because she's like, oh, it's been a rough couple months. Not unless he's actually been staying with her, and that was just kind of like a last minute, like, hey, maybe we can make this work, honey. Oh, never mind, I got kicked out, we're getting divorced. Or it probably has been a couple months in between. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, that's got to be awkward, him staying there. And I love that her room is filled with Batman stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting, especially because it's like, wait, you're not Batgirl yet, which I'm like, that's so interesting, because the Robin, I mean, not unless I'm mistaken, but because Robin is Batman's son in this continuity, so I'm like, that has to be Damian. It doesn't seem like it's Jason, it doesn't seem like is Dick or Tim, so it has to be Damian, especially the whole like, oh, dad and everything, so I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So we're on Robin number, what, 5 technically. I think Damon is technically 5th in the line of Robins, if I'm not mistaken, and that means Barbara hasn't become Batgirl yet. I think that's kind of interesting. I think it probably also have to be adjusting for age. I mean, who knows? Maybe Damon is actually in this continuity. Maybe he's the first Robin, which is like, but that's so interesting. Like messing with continuity. I mean, kind of doing its own thing. So that's so dope. And it seems like the reason why she becomes Batgirl is because she's super obsessed with Batman. It's like so interesting. And she's super invested of being like, oh, I'm willing to help you guys out as long as you're not trying to do the whole killing me thing. And I love that it's like she finds her rise in this episode. It's so interesting because it also makes me think like this episode, like that in particular, kind of made me feel like this seems like a combination of Birds of Prey meets Gotham Sirens, because like Harley and Poison Ivy are part of the Gotham Sirens, because I'm pretty sure that also includes Catwoman, but Batgirl, but in particular, Cassandra Cain is part of the Birds of Prey. So, but that's why it almost feels like two worlds colliding. It is interesting in the long run because, well, I'll get to it soon enough. But I love the whole situation of like they go in there and it turns out like, oh, Riddler is getting electricity because he's making people run on hamster wheels, because like Barbara had talked about, the fact is that a lot of the sports people had disappeared and stuff like that, and now we gotta find out where they were. And it's like, well, we gotta reveal to you, it's me, Harley Quinn. Yes, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. You think I didn't know that? I also love that there's a bit where it's like Riddler gets rid of anyone asking any questions because he's the only one that's allowed to ask riddles and stuff like that. So I guess questions in general are kind of like, no, I'm the only one to ask questions around here. Whatever the case may be. I love that whole bit, and they get put on the hamster wheels and stuff like that. And I love that Stephanie's just like, I can't believe Chad used me and manipulated me and lured me into this trap. And I love Harley being like, damn it, Clayface, turn into something slimmer and get through that. And she's like, oh, so are you calling me fat? And starts crying. And Harley's like, honestly, this is his best character work yet. And it's like, honestly, he killed it as Steph. Once again, kind of screwed the pooch because he was too damn good, but still, I love it. But I love that Barbara showed up and that poor Tanner bastard, and they're like, oh, she's agile and stuff like that, but she's not well trained, and end up falling on top of him. And Riddler's, holy crap, did you kill Tanner? She's like, no, and she checks his pulse. It's like, no. And I'm like, oh, because I'm sure you probably wouldn't be too keen about the whole like killing someone thing, especially because you're trying to do the whole Batman thing. And I love it that she's like, oh, she picks up the gun. He's like, oh, what are you gonna do, shoot all of us? And she's like, no, just a switch. Bam, bam. And it's like, you missed every shot. I was like, that was your cool moment. You failed. To be fair, you're not a well-trained superhero. But the fact is, Harley's like, when they say, are you going to do shoot us all? You say, no, just you, not the switch. And then she threw the gun. Riddler fell back, electrocuted the machine, and it's like, oh man, and she's super hyped and everything. She's like, yeah, I get my dad, we can take him to Arkham. And it's like, no, don't worry about that, we'll drop them off to Arkham and everything like that. I was almost halfway expecting it, and she's like, yeah, we did it, this is so great. And they immediately kill Riddler in front of her. I thought that's where it was going to go. Turns out not to be case at all. So they're taking him and leaving with him. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so back at the place, they've got him running on the wheel and everything. And I love Riddler's calling them out because it's like, you lied to Barbara. You said you were going to take me to Arkham and stuff like that. And it's like, we're bad guys too. Like we're going to tell the truth. For one, why would we put you in Arkham? I'm also surprised that they're going to keep him alive. But I guess it's like, well, they got the electricity running now. They just keep him perpetually running. So I guess that's okay. But I'm just like, I would have thought, but I guess he's out of commission. But I would have expected you to straight up just kill them. But that was a surprise. But nevertheless. And even though Clayface is back to being Clayface, he still oh, it's Chad. I didn't get on with that giddy laugh. I love that. Also, there was that line from King Shark and Psycho where it's like, what was it they were saying? That basically they were like, oh, we're like gods, or more like titans. And I was like, is that supposed to, obviously from a mythological standpoint, that's where the name Titans come from anyway, as in the Titans from Greek mythology. But at the same time, I'm like, is that supposed to be a wink and a nod towards the Teen Titans, who are just now the Titans of the DC Universe? That's what I was wondering. Probably not. It's just me reading too much into it. It could be the thing of like, it could mean both if you want it to be, whatever the case may be. But I love that. Once again, they went and got that water filter for nothing, and Harley, kind of being an asshole, just breaks it, all that hard work they went through. But also it's like, oh, it's like they kind of felt bad. Because they're like, oh, I think we did some. I forgot. Like, hopefully she gets over her Batman obsession. And it's like, I love Harley and Poison Ivy being like, yeah, well, like we did. And it's like, oh, I guess it makes sense from a villain standpoint of you kind of being obsessed with Batman, because everyone's probably like, oh, I want to be a Batman villain, But it's like, oh, she'll move past her. It's like, yeah, I think we, put her in the right direction or something like that, And it's because they were hoping that, oh, maybe she'll go back to her college days, move past her obsessions with Batman, and move past her awkward phase, like they all did. And it seems like, nope, she gears up and becomes Batman. It's like so interesting that they basically inadvertently created a hero. She was already on the cusp of it, but especially now that there's no Batman right now, we still have to circle back to that eventually at some point of like, last time we checked he was in a coma. So, but and once again, we still don't know what the hell Robin is doing as Batman. We haven't seen hide nor hair of that. But that's definitely going to be interesting, especially because Barbara wants to, give her dad more hope. It's like, oh, a new bat in the town, because like for him, it's like, oh, we need Batman, and it's just like he's not just the town, he needs Batman, and he's just a hot mess. Once again, it's sad because he was already a hot mess since the beginning of the show, and just this apocalypse of new Gotham didn't change that. It did. It made him even more of a mess. So either way, interesting introduction to Batgirl. I thought that was pretty neat. So, but I'm very interested to see ultimately where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.